I'm Anil Kumar, and in these set of videos, we are going to explore quadratic functions in factored form. So the question here is, the parabola shown is congruent to y equals to x squared. What are the zeros of the function? Write the equation in factored form. So that's the parabola which opens upwards, and we can find the zeros of the function which on a graph will always be x-intercepts. So zeros are x-intercepts. So these are the zeros, points where the y value is 0. Those are called zeros, right? So zeros are the points on the graph which have y value of 0, and they are represented by the x-intercepts, right? So these x-intercepts are the zeros. So from here you can easily read the zeros. And then you need to write equation in factored form. I'd like you to pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestion. Now let's begin by understanding what is factored form of quadratic function. So if I write quadratic function as f of x equals to a times x minus p times x minus q, then we are multiplying some terms and getting the equation. So these terms are called the factors, and therefore this is called the factored form, correct? So a quadratic equation written in factored form will look something like this, where p and q are the x-intercepts on the graph of the function, correct? Now some of you may not be conversant with the function notation. You can use quadratic equations as y equals to a times x minus, let us say x1 is my first x-intercept, and x minus x2, where x2 is the second x-intercept. There could be situations where both intercepts are at the same point, right? There could be situations, correct? Now let's read the question once again and try to understand what we need to do. It says a parabola shown is congruent to y equals to x squared. So when we say congruent to y equals to x squared, it means what? It really means that a is equals to 1. So a is equals to 1, right? So it is not vertically stretched or compressed. That is what it means. Congruent means you could overlap it on x squared, right? So that is what it means. So a value is 1, and x1 and x2, or the x-intercepts, we can read from the graph. So now the first part is, what are the zeros of the function? So let us write down the zeros. So zeros, which are the x-intercepts, right, on the graph. So zeros on the graph are, here is first zero, whose value is minus 5. So we say, we could write p equals to minus 5, and the second one is right there, whose value is 1. So we can say q equals to 1. You could use x1 and x2 as your zeros. Well, so when we get these two values, we can write down the function. So the function, the quadratic function is f of x equals to, a is 1, no need to write 1 here, so x minus 5. So this is the very first example, let me write like this, and then q is x minus 1. So minus is plus, so it's better to write this as x plus 5 times x minus 1. So that is how you get your equation in factored form from a given graph. I hope the steps are clear. In the next video we have some questions for you to practice. Thank you and all the best.